Hey guys, welcome to the session by K21 Academy. In this session, we will try to understand key management service which is used for creating and managing encryption keys for a variety of AWS services or within your applications. Also guys, before moving on with this session, please subscribe to our channel so that you will never miss an update on our upcoming videos. Now let us take a quick glance at the agenda. Firstly, we will be introduced to AWS Key Management Service. And then we will see how to create AWS KMS key and use an S3 bucket. So here we will be creating a KMS key and then we will assign a KMS key to S3 bucket. Post that, we will be seeing how to assign KMS keys to other AWS services like EC2 instance, EBS volume, DynamoDB or RDS. And finally, at the end we will be seeing how to delete KMS key which we have created. So we have taken a clip from one of our certification training program on AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate SAAC02, and in this clip our expert will talk about AWS Key Management Service.
Hey there, welcome back. This is Atul from team K21 Academy, and in this lesson we're going to look at what is KMS, which is a AWS Key Management Service, and where exactly this KMS can be used, or different services in which I'm going to use KMS. So let me first give you an introduction. So Key Management Service or KMS makes it easy for you to create and manage cryptographic keys and control who can access those keys and where exactly you can use these keys. Now, primary use of these keys are to encrypt the data at rest. So when you are storing the data can be stored in S3 bucket. We'll look at it in one of the next modules. Then you can store the data into the block storage or file storage. So those also stores can be encrypted when you're connecting them into the EC2, which is Elastic Compute, which is a Linux machine or a Windows machine. So the data stored on your storage can be encrypted. Similarly, the data stored on the databases are encrypted. And like that, there are different services where data is stored. All those services can use keys to encrypt, or you need to use keys to encrypt the data. Now, there are two types of keys in AWS. One is customer managed keys. So you create keys and you manage those keys. We call CMK, customer managed keys. And another one is AWS managed keys, where you don't need to do anything. AWS will manage them. You simply tell service that's saying, hey, I want to use AWS managed keys. So that's what we are going to look at here. So I'm going to later show you how to use these keys. First, we'll create them we'll first create a customer managed keys, and then later I'll show you different services on which we are using either customer managed keys that we have created or AWS managed keys. So this is what we are going to do in this lab. So let's first give you the introduction about, as we always do, what we are going to the index page. So first introduction, I've given you a very high level overview, but the next part is documentation link. What all documents we have used in order to create this link. Oh, before I go further, this is an example of where I'm using Aurora database, and then Aurora, which is a MySQL database, will be covering this in the database module. If you see, the data is encrypted on this Aurora MySQL database, and that is encrypted using a customer managed keys, and these keys are stored in AWS KMS. That's what we are going to do here. I'll show you later. This could be my S3 bucket. This could be my EC2, which has a storage assigned to it. It could be other services as well. So that's what we are going to look into. These keys, the data encryption is happening via the keys, and these keys are stored in this KMS. So for documentation, how to get started with KMS or AWS Key Management System, the pricing for KMS, frequently asked questions, and then how do you encrypt the Aurora, which is a database, using KMS or your customer managed keys, or AWS's key management system, or your own customer managed keys as well. Or how do you store or protect the data on EC2 when data is stored or connected on block storage. There are two types of keys, symmetric keys and asymmetric keys. Now, let me quickly explain you here on what are these asymmetric or symmetric, but we are going to learn these in the theory part anyway in the class. So symmetric keys, okay, that's not enough good diagram, but I think we'll be definitely covering this in our live interactive session. But there are two types of keys. Symmetric key is where you have one single key that's shared between client and server, And in client in this case might be, for example, my EC2 instance, which is storing the data on the block storage. So they use same key to encrypt the data and decrypt the data. Whereas an asymmetric key is you use one key to encrypt the data and another key used to decrypt the data. So that's, and you can read out a little bit more here on this. You can also learn about cryptographic concepts, what I'm talking about. And then there's another service called HSM. So whatever key that you're going to use or see here, that key underlying is a secure hardware. On that secure hardware, multiple customers through a virtualization are sharing the same hardware, but the data is secure through a software-based KMS. In HSM, you get a dedicated hardware security module for the customer, which means it's a little bit more expensive for you. So that's HSM hardware security module. And these are normal cryptographic concepts. If you want to go deep, you can do it. Otherwise, this is more than enough for you to understand. And as long as you do this lab and go through the quiz questions, you should be good. And then last is how do you create these keys in AWS? So that's about keys or documentation. Now we'll look at prerequisite, which is all you need to do is have a AWS account. And we created when we created in module 2. Then first we are going to create a key, and we are going to use that key into S3 bucket. So let me go straight to the key, creating the keys. So in order to create the key, we'll search Key Management Service, and there we'll say create a key, and then we'll be searching whether it's a symmetric key or asymmetric key. Now most of the services which are used internally within AWS, they use symmetric key, so we'll be selecting symmetric key. I'll explain you other things as well. So let me first go and show it to you directly on console. So I'm on here, AWS. I'll just say Key Management Service and click here. Now, first I'm going to go and click on Create a Key. And this was talking about a single encryption key that is used for both encrypt and decrypt operation, whereas asymmetric is use separate key, one key to encrypt, decrypt, so public and private key pair, which is used. And this is what we saw when we created when we create SSH keys to connect to the Linux machine, we use asymmetric keys. So most of these services in AWS internally, they use symmetric key. We'll be keeping it, but you can create anything of your choice. Then this is where we are using KMS. This means I'm creating the key management service on AWS. This is if I'm using external, which means if you have any symmetric 256 key from a key management system, you can bring it into your KMS. Another one is if you're using customer key store, which is Cloud HSM. I've given you the documentation about if you want to use that to know more about what is Cloud HSM. So we're going to use KMS. Click on next. And this is where we'll be using the key. So say my demo key, and you put a description of your choice for testing purpose. And like any other resources, you can use the tagging. So you can use tag to add a more description or metadata into this. Click on next. And this is where you want to see, you can assign this who has administrative rights, meaning who can who can update this or admin privileges on this key. And this is where you can select it either to the user or role. Now, if you don't have any users, because we have deleted the users, you will not see any user. Because I already have a user, that's why I see one user here. Or I can assign a role. I can assign this admin privileges to a role. So I could have done is what I could have done. I could have created a role called custom KMS admin, and then I should have added that administrative privileges to that user. For now, I'm just showing it to you that I'm assigning to one user and one role. Then you have an option to delete the key, which is, are administrators allowed to delete this key, or only you as a root account can delete the key? So you decide and give that necessary permission. Click on next. Now, this is who can use this key. So earlier was about administrator, and who are the users. Again, we can either give it to a user or we can give it to a role. For example, this role, which is Elastic Beanstalk service role. Again, I'm not going to use these roles because I'm going to use the super user, but this is just to show you that it's possible that you can limit who can use these keys or who can admin or manage these keys. You can even give it these keys access to other AWS accounts. We are going to look at other AWS account when we talk about organizational unit OUs or service control policies for giving access to different accounts and managing different account under same accounts. So we'll leave it to the default, click on next. And this is where I'm creating and editing the policy. This is the policy which it will be creating by default. So you don't need to do anything, and you click on finish. And now we have this key ready. Now, once this key is ready, we are ready to use this key. And so that how to use this key, we can use this key on S3 bucket. I'm going to show it to you in the next part, saying how to use this in S3 bucket, or other places where we can use is about EC2 instance or volumes or DynamoDB or different places you can do, or relational data services. These are all these services which we are going to see or cover in subsequent modules, but I'll show you how do you use that keys now once you've created. So I'll cover that in part 2. So head on to the next lesson. In this lesson, let's continue from where we left. So in the previous lesson, we looked at how to create keys in KMS. Now we are going to use that keys, and so we'll begin with S3. Now we're going to discuss S3 a little bit later in the next module, but give you a high-level overview. S3 is a simple storage service, like it's an object storage on which to store any data. It could be GIF files, PDF, movies, or backup, or anything like that. So before I start using, let's go and look at my key management service and see whether my keys are created or not. So I created 2 keys and then one I deleted it. So I only showed you the one key creation, but before that I already tested this and I already had that key, one key. So you type key management service and go to this left. This is where you will see managed keys, customer managed keys, and custom key store. So we'll see AWS managed keys, and these are my keys which I created and used, or AWS created on behalf of AWS, or AWS managed keys I've used in RDS, I've used in code commit, FSX, Elastic File System, EBS, and then backups, S3, simple notification service. All these places I've used these, or I can use these keys. This is what the key which I created, which is customer managed keys. This is what I was talking about, CMK. So this is the key which I created, which is my demo key, and I already created one, and then one was my KMS demo, which I deleted, and it's saying pending deletion. So you can, if you want to delete it, you can't delete it immediately. You need to schedule the key deletion, which probably might take minimum 7 days or so, or you can enable or disable the keys. Or if I already selected, and I can say I can't enable because it's marked for deletion, but I can cancel the key deletion. I get 7 days. And this is also I was talking about custom key store or cloud HSM store. So this is what you see here. It's a shared infrastructure on a security module, and this is a dedicated security module which we call HSM, hardware security module. So dedicated to one particular customer. It's a little bit more expensive. So now once we have seen this, I'm going to use this key on my S3 bucket. So S3, as I said, we are going to discuss this in next module where we cover simple storage service, but I'm just giving you a glimpse of while I'm creating a bucket, I can say the data stored on the bucket should be encrypted using a key, which could be AWS managed key or customer managed key. And then how do you change that? So here I'm into S3 bucket. I'll say create bucket, and then you give a name of this bucket. I'm not going to create this bucket, but I'll simply wanted to show you how to create or where to use this my demo, whatever name you want. Scroll down at the bottom, you will see this is where you see default encryption. You want to disable the encryption or you want to enable the encryption. So we'll say we want to enable the encryption, and this is where do you want Amazon managed key, so Amazon's S3 key, which is Amazon managed keys, or you can do your own key management service here. So and within that AWS key management service, this is my AWS managed keys. So this is the one which I earlier said, this is just for S3 keys. So within KMS, there are 2 AWS managed and customer managed, but S3 itself also has its key management system. So this is what that is here. But we want to use KMS, so this will select, and within KMS you have AWS managed keys, which I showed you earlier. We don't want that. We are going to use my own key management system, and this is where I'm selecting. I can choose from the keys, or I can do ARN, which is Azure resource name for that key which I created earlier. So This is my, if you see the random number, this is ARN, this is the number. If I know this, I can select this ARN, or I don't need to remember that. That's why I'll go this. And this was the one which was created, my demo key. We'll select this and I've enabled, and then you can create a bucket. And that means the data is encrypted on that bucket. So this is to encrypt my S3 bucket using KMS. Now I can use for this for EC2. Again, we are going to cover Elastic Compute Cloud in one of the future lessons, and but I'll show you how do you, when you create a EC2, the data on this EC2 is stored in Elastic Block Storage, EBS. So if you see here, I'm going to now EC2. We'll be covering Elastic Cloud Compute, which is nothing but your virtual machines. So I go here, and when I say I want to create an instance, so I'll say launch an instance. Again, I'm not going to show it to you all, but the place where we use or put encryption. So I'll say what operating system I'm installing this, and this is where I'm selecting the instance type, which is a free T-tier, T2 micro, sorry, and we select the shape and other parameters for this instance, and data is stored in the storage, and this is where I'll be doing encryption, whether I want it to encryption or not. And this is where I say not encrypted, or I encrypted using my demo key that I've selected. Which key I'm doing? Either I can use this key, so I'll be using this encryption keys. So this is a way to create storage onto EC2 Elastic Block Storage. Later we are going to call also the EBS, which is Elastic Block Volume. So let me go to again EC2. So whatever you see here, that's an Elastic Block Storage itself. I can add when I'm creating some additional volumes. We'll see what is volume later, but when I'm creating volumes, I can encrypt that volume as well. So if you see volume, and if I go encrypt this volume, here I can select through what key I'm encrypting this volume or encrypting the data in volume. Now, what is volume? We'll cover that when we go to the compute module. I'm just showing you the different options where you can encrypt the data so you understand where to use these keys. Then when you're doing DynamoDB, so again, we have a dedicated module about DynamoDB or databases on database. In that, we are going to cover DynamoDB. There will be labs for DynamoDB. And so I want to show you how you encrypt the data on DynamoDB. So you say create a table. So DynamoDB is nothing but tables. And instead of using the default setting, I uncheck this. And if you go down, there is an encryption at rest, which is a default, which is key managed by Amazon DynamoDB. Or this is where I'm using customer managed keys or AWS managed KMS. So we'll say KMS, my customer managed KMS, which is key management service, and I have my demo key here. So this is for DynamoDB. Similarly, if I'm doing RDS, relational data services, which is again has a database. So when you're creating the relational data services, that time you can encrypt the data. So we'll be selecting Aurora, and then under encryption, when we are doing encryption, that time we'll be doing or selecting the KMS. So this is where I'm saying right now there's no database. So I'll say create a database. All these databases will have a database option. So I'm selecting Aurora. You can pick any other database. Scroll down, and there should be some maybe under advanced. Keep going down under additional configurations. And here I'm saying encryption, enable the encryption. So how do I use encryption? I'm going to use either AWS managed keys, or I can use my own key, which is my demo key here. So how do you encrypt? Or you can say, I don't want to encrypt the data as well. So this is different ways to, or different services on which you can put encryption here. So you've used that KMS. Now, how do I delete or clean up? It's always good practice to remove these. So I'll be disabling first, and then I'll say schedule for deletion. That's how I delete them. So but before you delete, maybe take a couple of screenshots and then share it in WhatsApp group so that I know that you've done it. And also it will inspire others to do that lab. So you go back here under customer managed keys, and then you select this and say, first you can either schedule for deletion or you can say disable. So say schedule for deletion. How long you need to wait? Minimum is 7 days. So I'll say 7 days, and then I say confirm that you want to delete this key after 7 days. You say schedule deletion. Now also created a S3 bucket. So I'll go and clean that S3 bucket as well. So go to S3. So now the KMS that I scheduled is ready for deletion. It will be deleted after 7 days. Now this is the bucket. I've not stored anything in the bucket. Otherwise I need to empty the bucket. But because I've not stored anything inside the bucket, I'll simply say delete. And I just need to give the, I just need to give the name of this bucket and it'll be marked for deletion. Click on delete and it'll delete the bucket. So that completes your lab on how to use this KMS in different services, different AWS services.
So we have put down everything about the certification, including the basic concepts that one should know everything like introduction to AWS, security management AWS, object storage options, designing computing environment, networking and monitoring services, leverage Route 53 for hosting zones, database server and analytics, application and messaging services, configuration management and automation, architecting on AWS 1 and architecting on AWS 2. So in this training, we take you from basic to advanced level along with the tips and resources for clearing the certification exam. We also have a separate team working for CV preparation and on-job support. So if you want to become an AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate and want to learn right from basics to expert level, then we have a comprehensive step-by-step training for you that includes hands-on labs, including the exam preparation and most important part, 1 year on-job support. So if you are interested in this program, I would highly recommend you to attend the free class which covers most of the topics like why and who should learn AWS, cloud service deployment models and AWS services, demo on creating S3 bucket and making data available to the entire world, and many other topics. So if you are interested in this free class, you can visit k21academy.com/AWS SA02. You can also find the link in the description.